What's going on, guys? BigJerr, back with you again. And today, we're going to be recreating that iconic tripod alien sound from War of the Worlds. In fact, oh, wow. That was a close one. All right. Let's get into it. So, the first thing I usually do when recreating a sound like this that could be pretty much anything in the world is a little bit of research. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, a simple Google search found me this nice little blurb about the War of the Worlds, right? And the interesting parts here down at the bottom, I'll paraphrase. To get these bellowing horn sounds, they combine sounds of a didgeridoo and a few West African hand instruments. Well, now that I know that, instead of like exploring every possible avenue out there, I know kind of exactly where to go. So let's head over to Ableton and see what we could do. Okay, so here we are, and I've got a nice little session here set up for us. I will make this session available to you guys to download, so you'll be able to have all the stems, the final result, and the original sound, as well as maybe a few rack surprises that I left in there for you. Cool, let's get into it. So, I've got it pretty clearly labeled for you. So right now, first thing I want to talk to you about is setting up a cool thing I like to do with referencing. So I'm going to go ahead and hit the Q key. And if you notice, when I hit that Q key, the solo goes on. Let me show you what I did. So I went Command K to open up some key mappings. And right here, I put Q, and I just kind of put that right on the solo there. So the reason I did that, let me get out of the key mapping. The reason I did that is so when I'm referencing back and forth, I could be listening to my sound, hit Q, and then it bumps right over to that one. So this is a cool little referencing pro tip. Awesome. So let's go ahead and hit Q and listen to the original. Pretty cool. All right, let's go ahead and hear what I got. All right, nice, pretty close, pretty right on. Awesome. So I would say that this is going to be an intermediate type of a sound design situation because we're doing a lot with warping and EQs. I mean, I guess that's all sound design, right? But again, we are kind of shaping this a lot. So it's a fun one. So let's go ahead and get into it. Okay, so let's jump into our seeds folder. And all right, before we kind of jump into anything, I'm going to go ahead and hit Q, and we're going to listen to this sound. And we do hear two notes play back. Okay, now what we have is an A going up to a C. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and tune this to A because that's the first note, right? And that's where these impacts or these hand drums are going to come into play. So I've already kind of done this. I'm going to go into here and hit this. Okay, I'm going to turn it on first, and we're going to hit this. And you can see that every sound has a fundamental frequency. And when we go to it, here we go. We got it tuned to the E, right? Here we go. Nice. Lowest, loudest peak, tuned to an E, which is a fifth above A. And this is going to be my lower hit, the one that we're probably going to use. Okay, and we could hit this, and you can see that that's hitting at an A right there. Okay, awesome. So let's jump over to our didgeridoos. Okay, and I got 3 samples here. We may use all 3, or we may just use the first 2. So let's check out what they sound like. Okay, I got the fade on there, so nice little fade out. Okay, then we got this one. Okay, and we got this one. Okay, cool. So that's actually the main part of the sound. And we have a little bit of a percussive hit here. If we listen again, you can hear there's a percussive hit in the beginning, and then the sound quickly fades in. So let's pick Q and check that out. Right? Okay, now that first hit's going to be represented by this hand drum, I'm assuming. And then we're going to go into these guys, and we'll use one of these as the A and one of these going up to the C. Now, the reason I said that this was a intermediate to advanced kind of a sound design thing, because we're only using two sounds, right? The reason it is because it's a lot of finessing with the warping and the stretching. Now, I could like spend 20 minutes stretching this thing out in front of you back and forth, but I don't think you want to see that. So I'm going to show you the results, and then I'm going to give you all the stems that I have, and you can go ahead and practice it on your own. So here again, to remind you, is what my digi sounds like here. Okay, but we're trying to get this sound from this guy. Okay, so awesome. So what we're going to do is, if I go over to my, like right here, I have my folder where I've made my sound, right? This right here is going to be that component. Okay, so if we listen it back. Okay, so we're very, very close with that. Okay, cool. So now to show you what I started with, which is just this guy here. Okay, this is what I started with down here, same sample, a little bit of processing on it. But let me show you and this is what it ended up sounding like after all the stretching. Now, to prove to you it's the same thing, I'm just going to go ahead and like turn off the warping here, and I'm going to go ahead and, bring it back to normal size. I'm going to go ahead and turn back this guy here and bring it back up. Okay, so yeah, we could see that it's the same thing. You just bring it back one more time. Yeah, and I just have to obviously bring it. Right, so you get it. Cool. So same exact sample, and now after stretching it a bunch of times, and also pay attention to your warp modes here. These are going to change the way it sounds. Now we've got this. Okay, make sure, yep. Cool, great. But we need that initial hit. So if I hit Q again, you can hear that there's a hit, right? So what I've got here is this guy playing. Okay, so I made that out of one of these guys here. So what I did was, I've got this guy. No, I want to use this one, I believe. Okay, and we've got it tuned to the right note. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a couple of quick things to make a boom, right? I'm going to go ahead and add an EQ and get rid of a lot of the highs. Cool. And I'm going to go ahead and grab myself maybe a glue compressor real quick. And I'm going to go and grab myself a reverb. I like this EOS because it's huge. Bring down the mix a bit. Bring down the... And let's go ahead and pitch it down an octave. Cool. Okay, awesome. Love that. And let's go ahead. Now, anytime I got something with a reverb, I'm just going to go ahead and freeze. Okay, and just if I alt drag it down to an empty audio track, I'll get the actual sample right here. So now I got this. And I could just put my fades on it. Okay, cool. And I can go ahead and maybe replace that if I want on this one. You know, it'll work just as good. Dope. Cool. And you could hear that hit happen here. The reason that I put the tail on it is because I wanted that big reverb feeling, but I didn't want it to, overlap with the tail of the actual horn here. Another thing worth mentioning is look at my fades, right? So I noticed that this is my transient right here. So what I did was I just dialed out my transient on the hit. So when the hit happens, you get the transient from the actual kick or whatever here, the hand drum, and, then the actual sound comes in. So let's hear that again. And I'll turn the sub off right now. Cool. Awesome. And the next thing we got to do is tackle that second part of the sound. So let's go ahead and hit Q, and we'll listen. and then there's a little pitch bend at the end. Okay, so the second sound that we have here is this one. Okay, and down here on my second digi sound, that is the same sound right here, but then I stretched it out a bunch. And let's go ahead and open this up all the way, turn the fade off. So this is what it's going to sound like after I stretched it out. Cool. All right, so here we go. And I chose to use this section here. So this is what this sounds like. I'm sorry. Cool. All right. So now what we could do is when we put these together, you know, I faded these in and out. So now we got this kind of situation happening. And we obviously matched that second pitch, right? Cool. So I could just, like I said, I've been cueing right there back and forth. So again, this is really quite good. The really cool thing I did here was this frequency shifter. So check this out. We got a nice little wobble in there, and that's because of this. Here, watch, I'll exaggerate it. So we got a nice little warble happening from the frequency shifter. This EOS is just doing our reverb for us. I'm bringing this in just a bit more center here, you know, making it just a bit more mono, and then pushing it into a limiter, okay? If you don't have Pro L, anyone will do, but I think the Pro L is pretty good. So if we jump back to this first sound, let's talk a little bit about the processing I did. So I kind of did some EQing, right, to get it to sit right. I made this one a little more mono, but then I have this cool little rack that I added for you guys. And basically what it is 2 EQs. One is only mid, no sides, turned off, and one is only side, no mid, right? So what's going on here is I'm able to adjust the volume here on the sides. Okay, so I just turned them down a bit. Okay, so if we pull that back out, you can see, oops, let's turn that bone here. Great. And again, just a little OTT to even it out. A little bit of limiter and glue compressor. No big deal. So the last thing to do is kind of glue it together with the sub. Now I printed my sub, but I'll show you guys how I did it. Maybe I'll just leave this attached. So all I did was we have an A rolling up to a C, right? So we're going to go ahead and just do that right here. Okay, and just create that guy right here. And this is what it sounds like. Okay, just used a simple hip hop sub right there. Okay, I'm going to turn that off, and then we can listen to the one that I have. And then let me show you here, because the reason I printed this is because I wanted to do that last little pitch up, and I did it in the audio. And I just did a little stretching to make it kind of blend with this. Very cool. So now let's kind of blend that in. Remember, when you're adding a sub, you could take out all the sub frequencies and everything else. Okay, so let's go ahead and hear what that sounds like when I add that in. So when we compare that to the original, I mean, we're so close. You could spend another hour or two and get all your warpings just right and make it happen. The last thing that I'll show you is kind of using a group here to glue everything together. It's just one more pass to, you know, get the EQs right, a little bit of multi-band compression, a couple of limiters here just to get that thing nice and squooshed. Other than that, I just go ahead and printed it right into here. So this is our end result. Let's listen to this one more time. wicked. So awesome, guys. Again, this is one of those sound design things that, you know, you gotta just turn those knobs and mess with warping and EQing, and it's a lot of trial and error, a lot of back and forth until you find that sweet spot. What's going on, guys? I just wanted to stop back one more time to say I hope you enjoyed that sound design recreation video. We're going to have a lot more coming, and if there's a sound that you want to hear specifically from a certain movie, please put it in the comments, and I'm down to do it. I'm here for you. I did want to let you know, if you want to take your sound design to the next level, I've partnered up with those cinematic giants Evident, and we've released a cinematic synthesis course. We demystify synths for you and show you how to make the most common sounds in all your favorite trailers, video games, blockbusters, whatever. Down in the description, I'm going to add a link where you could find more information if you're interested. Alright guys, catch you there.